Hey guys, welcome back to How to Stop Being a Loser. Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to follow and subscribe if you've been enjoying this podcast of mine. Today's topic is going to be all about emotional discipline, self regulation, emotional intelligence, and just gaining control of our reactions to things and being able to gauge the world around us, navigate relationships better, and conduct ourselves in the most lucrative way possible when it comes to emotions. Especially as women, we do feel things more than men. The more estrogen you have, the more deeply you can feel things. That's a fact. It's not good or bad, it just is. I know not all of my audience is women, but whether you're an emotional person or not, whether you're a woman or not, these are tools that everyone I think would benefit from learning and implementing. And I think something that I'm not, but I do want to, I was just saying from my perspective as a woman, I know that it can be even harder if you're an emotional woman, you're an overthinker, or you're just someone who feels things very deeply. I relate to that. And there have been a lot of things that have helped me adapt and not be as reactive and not be as out of control of my emotions. And so I'm going to teach y'all what I've learned. I also have never talked about this, which is funny because it is probably what it was probably the beginning of my, I guess, journey with like self help and self improvement. So, where I get a lot of these tools and a lot of this information is from my parents. My parents are not therapists, but they're pretty damn close. And they had me in like seminars when I was young and like trainings when I was young, which I don't know if that was necessarily a good or a bad thing. I know it's made me very good at my job and it's taught me a lot. So it makes me a good public educator. Not saying I would recommend you put your kids in that or you do that, but I've just been through trainings and lots of different kinds of therapy with lots of different kinds of psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, life coaches, self improvement coaches. And so I've sort of picked out what I think works as someone who is my age and has my level of experience, and that's what I'm using. And so a lot of these techniques, when it comes to like conflict resolution or emotional discipline, emotional regulation, is coming from a bunch of professionals that I was weirdly overly exposed to in my childhood. Emotional discipline is something that I think a lot of people lack. A lot of people struggle with because it's not taught for some reason. It's not taught in schools. Emotional intelligence is not taught in schools. The capacity to understand one's emotions, navigate them, and manage them in a way that will lead you to live a better, more peaceful life is not taught for some reason. Emotional discipline is the ability to make decisions that are at the benefit of your future self, even if it's not what feels like the right thing to do in the present moment. You always hear people say things like, I'm just being my authentic self. Like, I'm just being honest and I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for anyone. And I'm not going to suppress my emotions. Your inability to not react when you get emotional is not authenticity or confidence or you being outspoken or not sugarcoating things. It's a lack of emotional discipline. It's a lack of emotional maturity, and it's you being impulsive because it feels better and it feels more comfortable than controlling your emotions in the present moment so that your future self will have a better outcome. Refusing to be someone who loses their mind over having to wait in a line or over having to deal with a delayed flight. Maintaining composure. It's not about suppression, it's about timing. You should never suppress how you feel. I would never encourage anyone to do that. But there's a difference between having emotions and feeling them and being someone who's reactive. If you can start forcing yourself when you're in an emotionally charged situation to stop and ask yourself, what's the story I'm making up? And the reason why you do that is because it immediately puts you in a position of recognizing that this is your perspective and you can only see this situation from one perspective and it's yours. So, for example, to me, the story that I'm making up, whether it's right or wrong, it's not about invalidating how you feel. It's not about deciding who's right or who's wrong. The older you get, the more you realize there is no right and wrong. There is only the story that you make up because we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Life is coming from you, not at you. So to me, the story that I could make up is a good example of this is like, I have to work out today and I'm so tired and I'm gonna go eat healthy today and I'm gonna go work out and I'm gonna go lift heavy and I'm going to go, I'm going to, put on my workout clothes. Or you could say, I get to move my body today because I'm not laying in a hospital bed, as someone else isn't as fortunate enough to say today. And I get to put on my clothes that I bought. I got to put on my, $200, $100 Lululemon set and go to the gym and have a healthy, perfectly healthy, perfectly functioning body and go to my workout class that I have the money to pay for, to have someone else push me, and I'm getting stronger and I get to enjoy the process of getting stronger and moving my body and feeling my heart pump more blood and interact with other people. And I have the time throughout the day to dedicate an hour doing that because I love myself enough to do that. So those are the same experience, but it's working out. But if this is two different people, those people are telling very different stories about it. So when you can stop and ask yourself, what is the story that I make up about this? It shows you that life is not what you experienced. It's what you're choosing to focus on. It shows you that what you experience is not dependent on what actually happened. It's dependent on what you're choosing to focus on. Because where attention goes, energy flows. You're in complete control of what you choose has significance. The experiences that you deem more significant in your life are the ones that are actually going to matter more than the reality of them. And that's not to say that if something awful and traumatic happens to you that you're just not allowed to give it that much energy, or that you're not allowed to feel those emotions, you're not allowed to grieve. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it is a matter of, if we get in these situations where something is heated or something is annoying or something didn't go the way we planned, recognizing that life has never and will never go the way you think it's going to go. This is what's so funny to me. Life has proven to you over and over and over again, it's never going to go the way you think it's going to go, ever. Things are going to be diametrically opposite a year from now. And life has proven that to you over and over and over again for however many years you've been on this earth. And for some reason, you still get frustrated when things don't go the way you think they're going to. Of course, something's going to get delayed. Of course, you're going to have to wait in a line. Of course, there's going to be traffic. Of course, someone's going to leave. Of course, someone's going to die. Of course, you're not going to get that job. But it's not a cynical, bad thing. That's just life. The unpredictability of it is what keeps it exciting. If everything went the way you thought it was going to, A, you wouldn't be able to experience the things that have been so much greater and so much more amazing than you could have ever planned or decided for yourself. And B, you'd be so bored you'd want to end your life. I promise you. Most of your life is going to be sitting in traffic, girl. Okay? Most of it is going to be waiting in lines and things not going the way that you think they're going to. Stop taking things personally. Nothing is personal. Things are not about you. I have a hard time not thinking that silence is about me. Like if people are silent or people are quiet or people aren't as excited as I am, I have a hard time thinking, are they mad at me? Did they, maybe I'm doing something wrong? No. That's actually an incredibly narcissistic way to think about it. I'm not saying I'm a narcissist. I'm not saying that you're a narcissist for if you're like that, but it's just, and you're not, it's just how we're wired to think that things have to do with us. But if you can stop and go, how would this have anything to do with me? And if it does, it's the other person's responsibility to tell me. So what is the point of me sitting here ruminating in this anxiety, trying to figure out what I could have done wrong or what this has to do with me? Nothing is personal. I see this a lot. Something I don't experience, which I'm very grateful for, is FOMO. People are really scared of fear of missing out. Let me explain to you what the fear of missing out is. You don't give a shit about the party, okay? You don't care that two of your friends went to go do something and you're not there. You don't care about the experience. You did not want to go to the mall that bad. What the fear of missing out is a fear of rejection, okay? And once you can recognize that your fear intrinsically is that people aren't going to see you as relevant, or people aren't going to miss you, or people will end up leaving you, or people don't want to really be your friend, people don't like you that much, that's what's going on. Okay? Adult friendships, you see this so much less. It's a maturity thing, because when you get older, you realize fear of missing out is just fear of rejection. And you kind of get over your fear of rejection because you understand that nothing is personal. Nothing has to do with you. It doesn't have to do with you. If there's something going on and maybe you didn't get invited, you have to stop and ask yourself, what's the story I make up about this? Oh, well, they clearly don't want me there. Well, clearly they didn't think to invite me because they just don't want to hang out with me that much. Like clearly they all like each other way more than me. Clearly they don't think I'm very fun. Clearly they don't think this. Okay, that's a story. Hey, maybe this is something that got planned in like a one-off situation and there was some event that I wasn't at where this was planned, or maybe it was a limited amount of people, and maybe they're all talking about how much they miss me and how much they wish I was there right now. And maybe if I called them, I could just show up. Like I don't know. I think perception is everything. And for me, the latter in my life has been proven to be much more true than the former over and over and over again. Like people are just not nearly as malicious as I think a lot of us have unfortunately been conditioned to believe. And what that has to do with emotional regulation is instead of going with the default story that you tell yourself that this boy doesn't like you, that he's ghosting you, that your friends are mad at you, that you're not getting the job. Just these negative thoughts that you have no confirmation of, by the way. First of all, who cares? If those things are true, what are you doing trying to like catch someone? When people say like, and I say this all the time to y'all, if someone's going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you. If you have to prevent someone from cheating on you, then you don't want to be with them anyway. So what the hell are you doing trying to lose sleep over like trying to catch them? Like stop trying to catch people. If you have this mentality of like of this I'm trying to catch people and I always need to know what's going on. And I'm just nosy. Some people really are nosy. I get it if you're just curious. But if you find yourself that you are not comfortable with just not knowing something, like why didn't he text you back? Why didn't you get invited to this thing? Why didn't you get this job? Maybe the job's different because you'd want like feedback for your own career growth. But you know what I'm saying? Like these social situations with other people, if you have a hard time and it has absolutely nothing to do with you, I think that's something you should look at and start asking yourself, what's the story I make up about it? And also, how can I make up a story that's going to serve me better, that's probably more realistic? So often we think that things have to do with us. If we see people whispering, we automatically think it's about us. If we imagine people talking about us, we often always assume that it's negative. And that comes from maybe previous poor experiences, or because of your childhood, you have a more negative or cynical philosophical view on the world. And this is me, and I'm an idealist and I'm an optimist. And sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. I'm right a lot of the time. I'm right a lot of the time. I don't think things are ever as bad. I know things are never as bad as we think they are. Human beings have really strong threat detectors in the brain. And so what's happening is okay, biologically, let's go back to like primitive. If you were in the forest hunting and foraging for food and you came across an apple, and y'all have probably heard me use this analogy before. Yummy apple, I get to eat, yay. You're about to grab it, and then a saber-toothed tiger approaches. What apple? I don't see an apple. Boom. All of your focus, all of your attention is going to be on this potential threat because this thing could rip your throat out. Who gives a shit about the apple? Valid, right? Unfortunately, that level of threat detection is not useful now. I mean, maybe if you're living in that kind of primitive environment, which if you're listening to How to Stop Being a Loser on a Thursday afternoon, I couldn't imagine that you are. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes our fight or flight, which is our sympathetic nervous system, is overriding or overcompensating because the threat detection wiring in your brain and in that part of your nervous system is stronger than your ability to. It's not about seeing the positive. It's about your threat detection wiring in your brain and nervous system is stronger than it needs to be. And so sometimes it turns on, especially if you've got some kind of anxiety disorder. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, as y'all know. Please contact one of them if you need to talk about, some kind of mental health disorder. It's not, I'm saying I'm not prescribing anything to you. That's not what this is for. But especially if you are just an anxious person, or you're someone who maybe has, We all have a negativity bias in our brains, and it's something that we have to, once we understand that that's what's going on, it's a lot easier to beat. But that's how our brain protects itself. That's how we stay protected from potential threats. That's why it's easy for us to always think of the worst case scenario. But we have to be more emotionally disciplined than that and realize that this is a reaction based off of a stronger threat detection, negativity bias wiring in my brain that I've repeated over and over and over again. And so now it's my automatic default. If something happens, instead of going, oh, well, maybe it was this, maybe it was this, or, oh, okay, and just moving on and doing that probably doesn't have anything to do with me, or that doesn't have anything to do with me. You're going automatically into, well, they must hate me, or they must not like me, or he must be ghosting me, or he must be losing interest, or they must be firing me, those kinds of things. I must be being rejected. I must be being rejected. Most people's fear is, if you really, really got to know me, you'd reject me. That's most people's basic fear. And another thing to understand about emotional regulation, there are only four feelings. There's mad, glad, sad, and afraid. And there's jealousy and resentment and embarrassment and joy, da 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 da. They all fall into four categories: mad, glad, sad, or afraid. Give me one, I'll put you in one of those categories. You feel awkward, you're afraid. What are you afraid of? Why would you be feeling? Here's a practice you can do with yourself. You go, I'm just annoyed. God, this generation loves the word annoyed, as if we have anything to be annoyed about. I hate the word annoyed. And of course I use it, but it's like, oh, this line is so annoying. Like, God forbid you have to wait 10 minutes to get into this bar on a Saturday afternoon because you don't have to work on a weekend and you have the money to afford a $15 cocktail. Anyways, perspective is everything. I'm annoyed. Okay, well, what is annoyance? It's anger. It's like mild anger. Okay, what are you angry about? Well, it's just like wasting my time. Well, what do you mean? What's wrong with what's at risk for you if your time is wasted? Well, we're just not inside fast enough. I want to get inside. What happens if you're not inside right now? What's at risk for you if you're not inside right now? Well, I might be missing out on something. Okay, well, what happens if you miss out on something? Well, then maybe I won't be, as relevant and people won't see me. Okay, so it's always something deeper. If you're feeling awkward, that's fear. The only reason why you would feel awkward is because you're afraid of how other people are perceiving you, or you're afraid of how you're coming off. Jealousy is also fear that someone else looks better than you, someone else is doing better than you. And so the fear is that you're not good enough. Fear of rejection. Most things are fear of rejection. And so if you can really understand that that's what's going on, you realize that a lot of the things that you get annoyed about or get jealous about or get insecure about, you're just afraid of being rejected. And I think you've made it far enough in life to realize that not everything is you being rejected or being accepted. And another thing to practice, I think, is if you are experiencing these things, like, okay, so I have a girlfriend who's going through a breakup right now, really bad breakup. And she's like, I just need closure. Like, I just need clarity and I just need closure. Why do you need closure? Well, because it would just make me feel better to understand. Like, I'm just curious. Okay, well, what's at risk for you if you don't get closure? Oh, well then I wouldn't understand, why he decided to end things. Okay, well, what's at risk for you if you don't know why he wanted to end things? Well, then I won't know, like, maybe like what I could have done differently. Well, what's at risk for you if you don't know that? Well, and you get down to it, you get down to it, you get down to it. What's at risk for me if I don't know this? What's at risk for me if I don't get this? Or what's at risk for me? It's rejection. It's fear of not being good enough every single time. We human beings only do anything out of love or fear. Ever. Ever. I don't care what it is, they're doing it out of love or fear. Give me an example, I'll explain it to you, how it's love or fear. So if when you break it down, when you break down your emotions, they're quite simple, but we tend to overcomplicate them. And well, this happened in my childhood and it's bringing up this insecurity of mine and it's manifested physically in my body and blah, 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 whatever. Go down that rabbit hole. Like, I think it's great to figure out where things are coming from. And I wasn't trying to mock that experience and that emotional breakdown at all. I just think so often we just don't know how to strip things down to their core, which is, what are you afraid of? And yeah, figure out where that fear came from. in your childhood or whatever, that could be helpful. But just know that that's what it is and go, okay, that's all it is. I'm just afraid of being rejected. I'm not being rejected. This doesn't have anything to do with me. So, what's the story I make up? And as you strip down what's at risk for me, what's at risk for me, what's at risk for me, things become a lot clearer. That's how you get clarity. And that's how you start understanding your own mind and your own emotions. And if we can understand things, we can control them. Always remember, the person who loses their composure first loses. And being relentless in the pursuit of maintaining your composure so that it doesn't explode onto other people will serve you really well. And figuring out how to communicate your emotions in a way that is productive, that keeps you calm, that keeps your nervous system regulated, is one of the most powerful things you can do. Because the person who loses their composure first loses. The second you lose your composure, you lose. Not even necessarily against the other person, I mean that too, but with yourself, with your own emotions. Like, you have to prove to your brain and to your nervous system, no, like, we're going to be disciplined about this. You have to respect yourself enough to gain control over your reactions and the way that you react to things. You have to stop reacting and force your brain and force your nervous system to stay calm. Be pissed off, be upset, cry, be emotional, but explosive reactiveness is useless. And I think it's learning compartmentalization. The problem with compartmentalizing and the negative connotation that it has associated with it is people go, I'm compartmentalizing, and then you just stuff it and you never return back to it. Unfortunately, and I talk about this a lot, you talking about your problems over and over and over again all the time versus you talking about your problems. Those are two very different things. You don't ever suppress your emotions, but you don't make them worse. The more that you talk about the problem, the worse it gets. The more that you constructively focus on a solution. What am I afraid of, right? Strip it down. What am I afraid of? Probably fear of rejection, like everything else in life. Okay, and I guess this came from this part of my childhood and this experience that I had. What's the solution? When you talk about your problems, there has to be a solution. There has to be something that's going to propel you forward to stop this behavior, stop this feeling. If all you do is ruminate and wallow and talk about your problems over and over and over again all day, every day, that's great that you understand where it's coming from, but who cares if you're doing nothing about it? Like, I think a lot of times in talk therapy, and this isn't to bash talk therapy because there are some incredible therapists out there, but you designating time to actually focus on and repeat the same negative problems over and over and over again is useless. If you dealt with something really traumatic and you decided that you were going to talk about it all day, every day, like there's this great example, Evie Pomperis. She's an ex-Secret Service agent. Fantastic, author of Becoming Bulletproof. She was a Secret Service agent during 9/11, and she was on the ground during 9/11, like actively. And she talks about her near-death experience with 9/11. She's great. She's on a lot of different podcasts, but she meets with this is years after. She meets with this man who he either was a 9/11 survivor or he had someone pass away in 9/11, during 9/11. Something about 9/11 was very relevant to him. And he had no idea that she was on the ground and almost died in the dust. She walks into his house. He's got posters everywhere. He's got a 9/11 tattoo on his body. He's got 9/11 memorabilia everywhere. And it's like all he talks about. If I did that, if anyone did that, you would never leave the house. It has become, your traumatic experience are not who you are. We give them way too much power when we do that. Acknowledging that you went through trauma is so important, but it's like step one, okay? And it's not the most important step, not even a little bit. You continuing to feed and give power to this thing that hurt you so bad and make it a part of your life now, make it a part of your world, of your days, of your personality, of your spirit. Why are you letting it have that much control over you? Who cares? You're never responsible. The things that happen to you, the trauma that has been inflicted on you is never your fault. But it is your responsibility for how you're going to choose to move forward, unfortunately. And guess what? Everyone has to deal with that. And we could sit here and complain about how some people never have to deal with anything bad and some people have it so much worse than others, but you can play the comparison game all day long, okay? If I sit here and talk about my childhood, you'd probably be like, whoa, that's bad. Compared to who? Because I promise you, compared to a lot of other people, it was the most privileged walk in the park ever. So that's why the comparison game and the privileged thing doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not relevant. It's about, okay, this happened to me. I'm acknowledging it. This is how it affected me. I'm exploring that. This is what it's doing that's making me focus on how it's going to make you smarter, how it's going to make you more empathetic, kinder, all of these things. That is true emotional intelligence, I think. And so when it comes to compartmentalizing, if you're doing that, if you're acknowledging it, talking about it, finding a solution and moving forward, then you're able to compartmentalize. And when I say that, I mean in the moment, I'm going to put this in a box right now in my brain and I'm going to open it tomorrow. I'm going to open it tonight. But for right now, I need to focus on work or being a mom or being a friend or being someone who's listening. Like, there have been a lot of times with my best friend, who's like my sister. She maybe will get upset about something. There are times where I have to learn. Sometimes the best thing you can be is just a good listener and just be empathetic to what they're feeling and seek to understand before you seek to be understood. Okay. So maybe not every conversation is about defending yourself. Maybe not every time that someone is upset with you, maybe they're just upset, you know? And maybe this is an opportunity for you to just do everything you can to understand where they're coming from. And the way that you do that is you realize the fact that they're having this experience doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. This is an opportunity for me to understand where they're coming from and really try and here's the thing. One of my favorite quotes is, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it." So if someone starts saying, hey, this thing that you did, this thing that you said really hurt my feelings and it made me feel like this, and this is what I thought, they're telling you the story they're making up. Doesn't have to be right, doesn't have to be wrong. But you are robbing yourself of even the initial opportunity to understand what's going on if you're just so busy defending yourself. Seek to understand before you seek to be understood, and compartmentalize. Maybe you get mad, like maybe they say something that offends you. Okay, maybe I'm just not going to let that offend me. Maybe I'm just going to recognize this is a story that she's making up, he's making up, and I'm going to put it in a box just for now. And then in an hour or a couple hours, I'm gonna open the box and look at that. Learning how to be present, because sometimes you don't have time to break down. You don't have time to be angry, or it's not going to serve you to be. That's what compartmentalization is. But a lot of people will stuff and stuff and stuff, and then a lot of people are explosive stuffers. So they stuff, everything's fine, it's not that big of a deal. That's minimizing. And maybe they put it in a box, but they don't open the box. But the box grows and grows and grows, and then it's going to explode. And then it comes out when, they get a stain on their shirt and suddenly they're sobbing. If you're that kind of person, I think that would probably relate to you. Something like a little sets you off and it's like, whoa, it's not that big of a deal. The only thing that you have control over, that you've ever had control over, is the way that you react to them. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. The wind's going to do whatever the wind wants to do, okay? The traffic's going to do whatever the traffic wants to do. Your friends are going to do whatever they want to do. All you can do is change your perspective on it. And I also think something I'm learning this year that has probably regulated my emotions more than anything is learning that boundaries don't require judgments. I really don't care to judge people anymore because I find it to be a massive waste of time. I think it makes us feel really good to psychoanalyze other people, but in reality, it's just yapping about the story that you make up. And it's like, great. If you have judgments about someone else, fine. But you deciding, you know what, I think I'm probably going to distance myself from this person. I'm just going to set that boundary. That's all you need. That's all you need. You don't need to validate why. You don't need to be mad or call them a bitch or hate them or think that they're an asshole. Like, again, this girlfriend that's going through this breakup, and I think a lot of women, I don't even need to use that example. You think it's easier if you hate them to deal with the breakup because then it's like you've got a reason. And, well, they're this, they're such a loser, they're gross, they're poor, they're blah, 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 blah. And it's like, does any of that matter? What if he was the most amazing guy on the planet? Like, if he doesn't want to be with you, who cares? Because let's be honest, he's probably not that bad. And if it makes you feel better to bash him and throw darts at his face, like, go for it, but that's not going to last. The boundary doesn't require judgment. If you've got a girlfriend and you think she's, a shitty friend, or maybe she's just not the same style as you could sit there and bash her for an hour and psychoanalyze why she's doing the things she's doing and say, well, she should be doing this. She should be doing this. She needs to do this. She needs to be more present. Or just distance yourself. Boundary, done. If you need to set a boundary, you know what I'm saying? But I've really stopped letting other people's actions affect me. And it's like, if someone wants to hang out without me, that has nothing to do with me. I know I'm a great person. I know I'm fun to be around. I think if you can stop letting other people's actions affect you so much and instead just going, I'm just going to let them. If they don't want to be there, then that's fine. You don't need to sit around and make judgments or try and figure out why or try and make it about you. If someone wants to go and do something without you, just let them. It has nothing to do with you or your worth. This is not you getting rejected. And I think it's just about reminding your nervous system, this is not about me. This is not about me being rejected. And if you're ever worried about something going on, if you're ever worried about something deeper happening, then you start the conversation and you don't just react. I think that so often, and this is just an emotional maturity thing, but if you're feeling rejected or you're feeling hurt, you attack the other person and you go, I thought it was really shitty that you did this, or this is really fucked up that you did that, or you need to do this, you should do this. Stop talking about other people. Stop telling other people what they should do and what they need to do. First of all, complete waste of time. All you're going to do is make them aggressive. All you're doing is attacking them. This is about you. If your feelings are hurt, it's your problem. Not saying that they shouldn't be, not saying that someone else doesn't have any accountability here, but if your feelings are hurt, it's up to you to do something about it. It's not up to other people to read your mind or grovel to you. You have to learn to communicate like an adult and say, hey, like, I know you probably didn't mean it like this, but this really hurt my feelings and just wanted to talk to you about it because I love you and I want to fix this. Or, thought it was really fucked up that you did this. You're kind of a bitch for doing this. Or thought this was kind of bitchy. I mean, great. That's awesome. Like, that's useful. All that's doing is making things worse. You could just as easily say, and it's funny, like, Taylor and I have gotten so good at this, and we don't text. Stop. Oh my God. If any of y'all are texting your emotions, if any of y'all are texting paragraphs, I'm going to come through the screen and wring everyone's necks because if you're listening to this podcast, I have taught you better than this. Hey, are you free for a chat soon? Hey, can I call you real quick? Hey, just want to talk to you. Feeling kind of weird. Like my feelings are kind of hurt. I'm just feeling sad. Are you mad, glad, sad, or afraid? You know what I mean? Like, I'm feeling kind of mad. And you can say it like that. I'm just feeling kind of angry, honestly. I'm feeling angry and my feelings are hurt because of this. I want you to challenge yourself. If you're approaching someone else, you're having a discussion, and this is going to be like a conflict resolution thing, or you're expressing your feelings to someone else, don't say the word you. Try to do everything you can to just keep it about yourself. I feel like this because I thought this. And the smallest, the less you can say, you did this, you need to do this, you're this, the worse it's going to get. The less the other person is going to be able to hear you. And there's a saying that is so simple, but you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. That's true, but sometimes it's not about that. It's about that you're going to be heard better. You're going to be able to control your emotions better, and you're going to get to a place of peace. Like when these things come up where you're angry, your feelings are hurt, I want you to start seeing this as an opportunity to bond with the other person. For some reason, everyone wants a village and no one wants to be a villager. You have to learn conflict resolution. You have to learn how to have difficult conversations, express when your feelings are hurt, express when you're disappointed. You have to learn to have those conversations. That's what makes you close. The reason my best friend and I are so close isn't because we just laugh so much together. We just have so much fun together. I mean, that's true. And that's so important. But some of it is surface level. Why we're close, because we've gone through things together and we've worked through things together and we've gotten so good at communicating with each other because we care enough to. Clearly, you care enough about the person to have the conversation with them. So why are you ripping their head off? Clearly, you love them enough to, I guess, in your own weird way, try and fix it. But are you going into this just trying to defend yourself, or are you looking for a solution? Everything needs to be solution oriented. That is how you regulate your emotions. That's how you stay emotionally disciplined and you decide not to react. I don't know. Look, I'm not saying anything about reality TV. I don't know if it's just this, like, if it's because the behavior on reality TV is so normalized or something, but you guys, you yelling at someone else, like, that's not why are you yelling? Yelling? That's the most useless thing ever. You can say everything that you're saying in a normal voice. And sometimes you're mad, and I get it. But that level of anger doesn't have anything to do with the other person. They're not going to hear you more. Maybe you speak in a stern voice, maybe you're loud, but you're yelling or like threatening or name calling. If the whole thing is just pointing fingers at each other, coming up with different situations where they pissed you off, you're just arguing. Arguing is completely useless. Debate and conflict, it's not even debate, it's conflict resolution. It's you and the other person versus the problem, not you versus the other person. Are you guys not on the same team? Is the reason you're reaching out to the person not to try and fix it? So fix it. Stop contributing to the problem. And this is where I think a lot of self-regulation comes in, is you're no longer relying on other people to fix things for you. I know a lot of people that deal with anxious attachment. And so it's like, if you're upset about something, instead of sitting with it, you're almost like, my immediate thought is to dump it on someone else. This is something I think I struggled with. Like, the second I was upset about something, I would want to call someone or send a text, or, well, I just have to express how I feel. Now, give it 24 hours. I always say that to my friends. And my friends have said that to me. I'm going to text them. Okay, do it tomorrow. Well, no, I need to do it right now. Why do you need to do it right now? Well, because I'm just anxious. Like, it would heal my anxiety. Okay, that's not their responsibility to heal your anxiety. That's not a good reason to reach out to someone. If you need to do something right now, you probably, you don't need to be doing it. If it can't wait 12 hours, then it's not worth sending. There have been a lot of times where I'll send a text and then a couple hours later, like, I don't really care anymore. It's like, well, I wish I wouldn't have said anything or catastrophized that in my head, because most things in life, in the big scheme of life, most things are just not a big deal. Okay? And I think the older you get, the more you realize that life is a gift, and the more you realize that death and sickness and the fragility of life is a very real thing. And the more time that you spend complaining about things that you know are going to happen. I mean, I love when people complain about, like, traffic or like lines or people not doing exactly what they think that what you think they should do. Like, if a friend handles a situation in a way that you wouldn't, you like get upset about that. And it's like, well, what'd you think? Did you think yesterday was going to be the day that everything started going the way Bella thought it was going to start going? No. Why are you getting upset about that? Do you think for the rest of your life you're never going to have to wait in another line? Well, no, but it's just annoying. Like, everyone gets annoyed about lines. You don't need to. That's a bullshit excuse. Find the value. And I get it. Like, life is hard, and this is a practice, and it's something that you get better at, and like, you're going to get annoyed again, and you're going to get upset again, and you're going to react again. But I think you have to push yourself to want better for yourself, to want a better life for yourself. My life really started getting good when I stopped worshiping promotions, engagements, large sums of money, new car, new house, new relationship, these big accomplishments. And I started worshiping little things, coffee, sunshine, just being with my friends. I worship my friends, or the time that I spend with my friends. Maybe the flight's delayed, but you're on an airplane. That's cool. Maybe you're in traffic, but you're in a car. It's like you can always tell yourself a different story, and it's not always going to be easy, but that's the point. And like, yeah, it's hard, it's easier said than done, but like, it's easier said than done. God, like learning to self-regulate was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. So hard. Like, oh my God. It's still like, not everything needs to be everyone's responsibility. And if someone's not available to talk to you, to soothe you, like learn to self-soothe. If you can learn to self-soothe and you can learn emotional discipline, you become so unstoppable. It's purely just the ability to tell yourself a different story about the situation. It's not hard, it's uncomfortable, but it's not hard. And if you keep telling yourself it's hard, then guess what it is? And if you tell yourself that you're gonna do it anyway, and who cares if it's easy or it's hard, stop negotiating with yourself. Why are you negotiating with yourself? Stop doing that. There doesn't need to be thoughts behind this. There doesn't need to, who cares if it's hard, okay? Like no one's arguing with you. It can be hard, but you still got to do it. Don't you want it? Don't you want to be an emotionally disciplined, self-regulated person? I think a lot of what I said, the experiences that you choose to focus on the most are the ones that are going to have the most meaning in your life, more so than the ones that are the most traumatic. That has been proven. 100%. Whatever you've experienced is not dependent on what actually happened. It's just dependent on what you're choosing to focus on. That has been proven. Thank you guys so much for listening. That's all I have today. I really, really appreciate it. Please follow and subscribe. Let me know comments, questions. I read the comments and I love any feedback that y'all have. I've been hearing that maybe it's getting a little bit repetitive, so let me know what I can do to fix that, what you all feel like is repetitive, and what you'd want to see different or more of. Thank you so much, and I will see you all next week. If you can stop and ask yourself, what's the story I make up? It's showing to you and proving to you that life is not dependent on what you experience. It's dependent on what. Oh my God! Because attention goes where energy flows. No, that was wrong. And B, your life would be so predictable, it would probably lead you to a level of boredom. Clearly cannot form a complete thought today to save my freaking life.